So he's talking about the case with UMG that Drake had being dismissed and what it means, how it sets a bad precedent for artists in the future, right? So more than ever, we have so many different voices who can speak on one topic, right? And what can happen is whether or not someone is credible, whether or not we believe them or not, at the end of the day, if you can hear someone that can influence you, right? And being as though these people have huge platforms, they can influence the masses. So one narrative that keeps going around is that Drake is a sore loser, everything can't go your way, and you were humbled by the god of hip hop. The god of hip hop who doesn't really make hits, doesn't really make great music. Never been a stimulus package. Kendrick has never taken songs to the next level. Like no one can say as far as like songs that were big that people really love. There were no big records that Kendrick took to the next level, or if Kendrick wasn't on that record, it wouldn't be what it was, right? Anytime Kendrick was featured on a big record, that record didn't need him for it to be hot, or it didn't put that person on the map. Whereas Drake has done that from the beginning of his career. He's the only rookie to not need to be put on, who was there for the most part, getting other people hot as a so-called rookie. That's how talented Drake was, or Drake still is. Whereas Kendrick has never done that. Not only that, Kendrick is only here because of Drake. And I'm gonna get into the average Kendrick fan in a little bit and whatnot, but I want to set the tone so that we understand what we're looking at. So we did look at it before, but this guy made a really good point about Drake. They dismissed the case before trial, meaning that there was never an opportunity for the evidence and the evidence found into discovery to be basically looked at and viewed in front of a jury of his peers and whatnot. Not only that, a dismissal does not mean that you can't appeal the case. But what was ironic, and I'm gonna keep bringing this point home about, we have let a hater's narrative shape how we look at history and right from wrong. Never in the history of music labels has the music label ever been on the side of the artist. The record label is known for fucking the artist over. Since it's been record labels, since when is there a fair record label that gives you all the money you're owed? And I mean, and we've always known that this is the first time where an artist has been so successful, and also a smear campaign worked so well that you're willing to buy into the idea that it's okay for another artist to make records and songs about you being basically someone who touches kids and messes with kids, and it's okay. And not only that, it's okay for the other artists to create a song that devalues your brand, right? And the guy also made a good point about the fact that this song, Not Like Us, was played everywhere. That song, they made UMG put money into making that record the biggest record possible. He performed that nasty record at the Super Bowl in front of children. A record about touching kids in front of children. How does that not bother y'all? So you think that it's just such a great record that they will allow you to perform a song that goes against basically FCC guidelines. If I'm on YouTube, you cannot say what PDF file really is on YouTube, because it's one of those buzzwords that will get your video demonetized. So even the subject of touching kids, or anything sexual in general, if you're a big enough channel, it gets your video demonetized. As a matter of fact, it can count towards you being demonetized as a channel, because you cannot talk about certain stuff on YouTube, on TV in general, right? But this song, Not Like Us, which was all false, but the judge dismissed it based off the idea that a reasonable everyday listener is not listening. Basically, that people do not listen to this record and think that is true. People hear it and they automatically know, because all people who heard the record, they all watch a lot of battle rap and they know what goes on in battle rap, which is that in battle rap, the go-to is to rap about someone touching kids, even though you've never seen them do so. The go-to is to rap about being a PDF file with no proof and no paperwork. And I've gone over that in another video. There is no such thing in battle rap as I can accuse you of doing a crime and I have no paperwork, legal paperwork. At the end of the day, we have a lot of men who can't get no booty. Have a lot of men. Listen, the voice that is telling me that Kendrick is God is coming from the nigga who can't make no good songs. Because you got to realize the failed rappers, the rappers who listen to that boom bap. Let me tell you something right now. If you heard the Lloyd Banks album, you probably not getting no pussy. You probably do not. You do not. You don't like bad bitches. If you know what the Lloyd Banks album sound like, you more than likely do not like baddies. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this again. I'm gonna play it from the midway point when he makes the point about Taylor Swift.
Calling her a predator, which actually isn't that far from reality if you know about her past. But I'm not going to get into that. And use that to devalue her brand. And then they get some smaller artists to make a song that's very catchy. They use every resource that they have, whether it be producers, songwriters, AI, anything, to generate the most catchy song you can imagine. She wants to negotiate, not like us. It can't be questioned because it's not an actionable opinion. So let's use that as a hypothetical here. Let's say Taylor Swift. She wants to negotiate her next coming deal with UMG. She says, I'm the biggest musician in the world. I don't want to deal with any bullshit. I want all my rights to all my stuff, and I want $1 billion. And UMG goes, no, we want a sweeter deal because we're UMG. We run the fucking music industry as we've proven. So what are we going to do? We're going to get an artist to release a defamatory track about Taylor Swift calling her a predator, which actually isn't that far from reality if you know about her past. But
Let's pause it right here. I had no idea that any of this shit was going on. So these are all pictures from her past relationships where, so I'm sorry, this is a Twitter post that says, a reminder that Taylor Swift had many inappropriate relationships with younger teenage boys before settling with her current MAGA fiance. So in here, she's 23, he's 18, 17, she's 20, so on and so forth. So that actually is a thing that could actually happen.
I'm not going to get into that. And use that to devalue her brand. And then they get some smaller artists to make a song that's very catchy. They use every resource that they have, whether it be producers, songwriters, AI, anything, to generate the most catchy song you can imagine. They put it on every playlist on Spotify, Apple Music, every radio station that they own. iHeartMedia is churning this thing out on radio airwaves. It goes number one for 100 weeks. It is unavoidable. And now all of a sudden, you have people in all parts of the world who don't know jack shit about Taylor Swift singing along to some catchy song going, la la la, Taylor Swift had sex with a kid, or some fucking bullshit like that. And then you got people who don't know anything about Taylor Swift or her music or the whole fucking context of any situation that she's been in, just humming along this terribly defamatory product. But because the song itself was created in a specific scenario where this specific artist didn't tend to like Taylor Swift, it's non-actionable opinion and it's not defamatory. Like, that's insane. Because if it can be propagated to a level where it's unavoidable, like you hear it everywhere, sporting events,
who are these niggas?
Oscars, Super Bowl, whatever the fuck. Like, it's insane to think about. It just set a precedent for $1 billion company. A precedent for $1 billion company to use one artist as a soldier against another artist and take them down. And then think about it with AI. They don't even need an actual artist to be a soldier. They could make a goddamn soldier out of AI, make it the craziest song you've ever heard through all the algorithms that they have in their fucking back pocket. And then they put that on every single playlist. Like, this...
I have never played Not Like Us on Spotify. Not Like Us is on my On Repeat. On Repeat on Spotify is a playlist generated for you based off of songs you play all the time. Not Like Us was a record on my Spotify on repeat, and I think I might have played. I never played the entire thing on Spotify, never. Okay, that's how. Now there has never been a Drake song that I didn't play that was on my on repeat. On repeat means I played it at least 3 or 4 times. Sometimes I have to force a song into my on repeat. I have to keep playing it individually so that it will go into my on repeat so that I have this playlist curated for me. You understand me? So that song actually was on my on repeat. People even reported putting in a Drake song and then getting a suggestion for Not Like Us. So there was like so many things done to make sure this record was as big as possible, right? But the narrative that you'll hear from fucking losers and niggas who can't get no pussy and niggas who don't dress nice or niggas who do, basically again guys who are not desirable. Not that you have to be desirable and whatnot, but basically niggas who have the makings of a hater supported this entire thing. And on top of that, the payola from the bloggers. You think the Joe Budden podcast ain't getting cut a check? Them niggas get cut a check. And on top of that, Joe has a personal vendetta with Drake. All right. Just by virtue of him being more successful as an artist. You understand me? So I wanted to play that real quick before I play the clip from Joe Budden and Anthony Fantano. Matter of fact, we'll go to Anthony Fantano. Fuck that. We'll go there. But before we go there, let's go ahead and play this real quick. Hold on, y'all.
Don't say Toby be good nigga for my.
So that's Kendrick Lamar. All right, and that's the Grammys. Check it out.
That's a good nigga. Don't send Toby away. Toby be good field hand, boss. Good field hand, master.
That's all right, Toby. That's all right. You be a good field hand, and you can stay here.
Toby be good nigga for master. Good nigga.
It's your boy right here, man. So you know what thing I think is really interesting is that people want to make this about more than a rap because Kendrick can't rap that good. I'm sorry. When it comes to being direct, Kendrick is someone who's very artistic and creative with how he raps to the beat. Kendrick bar for bar is not someone that's really saying much of anything. I think it's cool, but I've never read that deeply into his bars word for word. I like how the song sound, and I like the pockets he gets into and whatnot. But Kendrick has always been dope in terms of doing what he does. He's never really been an international star where you can put him on anything and it's going to elevate the song. You know what I mean? Now, before this shit, I liked Kendrick and I liked certain shit from Kendrick and whatnot, but I liked him in terms of his lane. But when we started to compare him with a Drake and try to really say, no, he's better than Drake, what that shit is based off the idea that we, especially with hip hop, if an artist is talented and makes music that's actually good, they get labeled as someone who's not that good of a rapper. Because again, hip hop is synonymous with for most people. Hip hop is synonymous with black culture, and for most black people, black culture is being broke. It's being ugly, it's being dirty, right? It's having no class, right? And also failing at life, being a failure. I mean, that's why, you know, I'll never forget when Steve Stout was saying, like, yo, these niggas is on camera representing. Meaning he was talking about when niggas started putting a block in a video, right? And what they want to represent. He said, these niggas is representing nothing. When you see a rapper do a video in their hood and they talking about where they from and whatnot, yo, they from nothing. Ain't nothing there. They ain't built shit there. They just want to represent where they from. They just want to call it their city. But where they from, there's nothing there that their family owns. There's nothing there that belongs to them. The only thing that's there is bad relationships and bad memories. Right? But anywho, y'all wanted to make this thing about ethics, about politics, and somehow this nigga is so much. First of all, you can't tell me that Kendrick is an ethical, moral guy when you sat down with UMG according to that contract before he put out his first disc. He signed adjusted, basically a new contract with UMG that promised him all kinds of perks, a national tour, basically the Grammys, right? And also getting the performance at the Super Bowl. Kendrick is the most unlikely and unfitting artist to ever do the Super Bowl. All right, period. Not only that, the nigga, like, it was so clear that it was first of all, his whole performance is about dissing Drake. Like, we really got to witness this nigga do all of the corniest things ever. When you were a top and major artist, you never make it seem as though your brand is tied to another artist's brand. That's one of the reasons why you wouldn't do a diss song. This niggas make diss songs, right? Nas never performed Ether at every show after the beef. Nas was never asked to do Ether at the Grammys. Nas was never asked to do Ether at the Super Bowl. Like, really think about that shit. Like, really think about it. Not only that, you were only asked to do the Super Bowl because of Drake. He had SZA and Serena Williams there. Two of Drake's ex-girlfriends. That is weird, bro. It's weird. Like, we create this whole reality where everything, and it really proved how much, yo, in y'all eyes, this nigga can do no wrong, which meant that y'all was already biased to begin with. Y'all niggas did the same thing to Hove. And you did the same thing with Nas. Nas, listen, I like Nas, but Nas has never been the kind of guy who ever got anyone's career started, or a feature from him really took someone to the next level, or brought the song to the next level. Because that's not his lane. His lane is being Nas, which is cool. I think an artist is best served by being the best version of themselves, or the truest version of themselves, right? Or the most powerful version of themselves.